ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone today for our Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. We are reading from Canto 1, chapter number 17. Srila Prabhupada said that I have written everything that a devotee needs to know in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And my little experience of reading it, this would be probably 10th or the 12th time I would be reading it, this particular canto. I'm not saying the whole Bhagavatam. I'm saying the first canto at least. Every time you read it, it's just like what I should be doing in my life becomes more and more prominent. It's not that I did not read that before, but probably when I read it before, I couldn't see its relevance in my life. But the more I read, the more I hear it. The same thing, what Prabhupada have written, of course, the same book, which we have been repeatedly reading it. Now those instructions becomes more practical. So today, this chapter 17 largely focuses on the responsibilities of a leader. When we call a leader is an administrative head. A teacher is a leader, guru is a leader, and so does a parent is also a leader. So in your respective position where you are, when we discuss today some lessons or responsibility of a leader or role of a leader, we should see in our context. Second thing is about dharma. The nuances of dharma are being discussed in this particular chapter in a more finer way. What dharma entails and what adharma is. Third thing that we'll see is about the symptoms of Kali Yuga. What I mean by symptoms of Kali Yuga is what happens when we do not follow dharma. How Kali manifests. Prabhupada would often say the prime symptom of the manifestation of Kali is quarrelsome. Wherever there is a quarrel, there cannot be happiness. So that would be a third aspect of discussion that we'll see in today's discussion. And the fourth, how to overcome all of the situation, how to get established again in dharma. So this chapter 17, just to give you a little recap of chapter 16. In chapter 16, we saw Parishit Maharaj taking a tour of Bharat Varsha, his land. Why he went for a tour? The reason was because he saw the symptoms of Kali manifesting within his citizens, within his kingdom. So he was perturbed and he wanted to find the culprit because of whom people are becoming corrupted or contaminated. And that's the time Sukdev Goswami tells Parishad Maharaj that Parishad Maharaj reached to a spot where he overheard a conversation between Dharma and Dharani. Dharma was represented by a bull, and Dharani, Mother Earth, had taken a shape of a cow. Where Mother Cow was white, pure white was her complexion and form, but because of her grief, she had become dark complexion, pale, sickly, and her tears were incessantly flowing. Similarly, Bull, who happened to have four legs, were only standing on one leg, was himself greatly perturbed. And there, the conversation which we discussed last time, beautiful conversation, was not a kind of a conversation. Bull gave various reasons for why Dharani could be so grief stricken. And after that, Parishit Maharaj reaches to that spot, and when he saw Dharma and Dharani, that situation, on top of it, he saw one person who is dressed as a king actually performing an activity lower than a Shudra by beating the cow and the bull. And that's where the chapter 16 ends. Now chapter 17 begins. What happened when Parishit Maharaj saw that? So what had happened in chapter 16 when Sukdev Goswami told Parishit, or let's say Sutta Goswami told to Shaunaka Rishi that Parishit Maharaj went out in his kingdom to search for Kali, and he saw Kali beating the cow and the bull. So he captured Kali and he punished. So there Shaunaka Rishi said, "Arey, why punished? He should have been killed." And we discussed about it last time, about the need for capital punishment also. So now the discussion goes on here. Why Parishit Maharaj only punished and did not give a capital punishment? And also, what did Parishit Maharaj do when he saw such a grief-stricken situation of the cow and the bull? So text number 1, I will share my screen, or how do I do? I don't need to share, right? I can just do like this, correct? Okay, so this is a little long chapter. We're going to cover somewhere around 30 lessons from this chapter. So I might skip through reading the verses. We'll just go with the translation. So translation 1, Sutta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaj Parikshit observed that a lower caste Shudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no owner. So lesson number 1, Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport, what is a symptom of Kali Yuga? The foremost symptom of Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada writes in the paragraph here itself, that you can see from here to here. Would somebody like to read the highlighted portion, please? Don't ask me, just unmute yourself and go ahead, because I don't have other screen with me.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, please go ahead.
The principal sign of the age of Kali is that low caste Shudra, men without rabbinical culture and spiritual initiation, will be dressed like administrators or kings, and the principal business of such non-Kshatriya rulers will be to kill the innocent animals, especially the cows and the bulls, who shall be unprotected by their master, the bona fide Vaishya, the mercantile
Community.
community.
Yes. So the very first symptom, Prabhupada, the very first lesson for us to note down is the Shudras, the people of the category of Shudras would actually become the rulers and will act in a role of a Kshatriya. What is the role of a Kshatriya? What is the role of a Vaishya? That would be described in the next paragraph. We'll read that with the lesson 2. I remember there was one devotee from Russia who was sharing his story that how he became a devotee. And he was making a point, before becoming a devotee, he was actually a butcher who used to work in a slaughterhouse. And this slaughterhouse was pretty big, almost 4-5 story slaughterhouse, where the cows and the bulls were stored in this tall structure. So he said he was, I don't think so, he was actually slaughtering, he was the security guard. Every floor had a security guard. So he said he saw there was one huge bull, one of the biggest bull he has ever seen in his life. Huge, very strong and powerful bull. He was brought and kept in that cage or whichever confinement. And then, the bull could also understand that other bulls, on that floor there were only bulls. The other bulls are also getting slaughtered now, whatever the schedule of slaughtering was there. And now the bull's schedule was there to be slaughtered. And so the security guard said, of course, who became a devotee later on, he said, when I looked into the eyes of this bull, he looked so angry, so angry, so angry, and so disturbed. And as soon as they opened his cages or the chains, and he was brought out, because he was so huge, nobody could control him. And the bull, with full anger, started running all over the place. He was looking for an escape route. He was running in circle all over that floor, but nobody could control him. And finally, he knew he would be killed. He saw a glass window. And to everyone's shock, the bull ran, crashed into the glass window, and fell from the 4th floor flat on the ground and died on the spot. He said, when I saw this, I realized for the first time, when I saw the eyes of the bull, I could see that even animals have emotions, animals have fear. And I realized that we cannot kill them. And later on, when I came across Srila Prabhupada books, my devotees, and I understood how the bull or the cows or the animals, they also have life, and we have no right to kill them. And that's why I became a devotee. Similarly, another person, this is also from Russia only, where he tells a story of how he became a devotee. Of course, meat eating is a common practice in most of the Western, these Eastern countries. So he said he saw in one of the butcher places or slaughterhouses, there was a dead calf. The calf was taken away forcefully from the mother. I would say everyday practice, particularly in the corporate houses where they milk the cows and they produce cow products. They just bring the calf near to the cow so that the cow can give milk, and forcefully the calf is taken away. They never allow the calf to even drink cow's milk, even little. So the calf was taken away. There was a practice, and one day the calf was taken away for quite a few days. And then when the calf was brought back, the calf was dead. So this man said, I saw mother cow. When she saw the calf, she was so happy. She went running to the calf, and she thought that my calf is alive, but the calf was dead, which was lying there. And the cow was licking the calf again and again, and the tears were flowing through the eyes of the cow. Constant tears were flowing through the eyes of the cow. And this man said, I realized that even the animals have emotion, even they have life. We cannot kill animals. And therefore, gradually this person also came across Prabhupada books and became a devotee. The point I'm trying to make is, being a devotee, at times we don't know how much sinful activities are being performed outside, what all goes on in this world. So first symptom of Kali Yuga is the one who's supposed to protect the cows and the bulls. Prabhupada will give you more reasons the importance of cow protection. Those protectors have only become the conspirators to kill the cows and the bulls and destroy the happiness of everyone. So the first lesson is the symptom of Kali Yuga is you'll find Shudras becoming the administrators and leading to the death of cows and the bulls. The second lesson, Prabhupada mentioned the purport, showing the screen again. What is the dharma of the Kshatriya and the Vaishyas? Prabhupada says the dharma of Kshatriya and Vaishyas here. Prabhupada says the Kshatriyas are meant to protect the citizens, whereas the Vaishyas are meant to protect the cows and the bulls and utilize them to produce milk and grain. The cow is meant to deliver milk and the bull is meant to produce grain. This is the responsibility of a Kshatriya and Vaishya. Unfortunately, in present day, the Shudras have become Kshatriyas, so they're opening slaughterhouses. They're not taking care of either the citizens nor of the cows and the bulls. And the Vaishyas, they utilize the cows and bulls, and when the cows and bulls becomes dependent on the Vaishyas, which means they cannot produce any milk or cannot be utilized for tilling the ground, then they send the cow and bull into the slaughterhouse. This is a symptom of Kali Yuga. Text number 2. Here, so symptom of bull, the situation of bull is described by Sutta Goswami as he's speaking. The bull was as white as a white lotus flower. He was terrified of the Shudra who was beating him, and he was so afraid that he was standing on one leg, trembling and urinating. Here comes the third lesson for today. So we talked about Shudras becoming the administrators, the first symptom of Kali Yuga. Now what about those who have taken birth in the Kshatriya and Vaishya family or Kshatriya Brahmana family? Are they qualified as Kshatriya and Brahmanas? Prabhupada says no. They might be. Very important point. And yes, somebody online would like to read it. Please go ahead, the highlighted portion. This is lesson number 3 for today from Prabhupada purpose. Yes, yes, please.
They may be descendants of Brahmana or Kshatriya forefathers, but in the age of Kali, for want of sufficient education and culture of Vedic wisdom, such a Shudra-like population will detect the principle of religion, and persons who are religiously endowed will be terrified by such men.
So, what is the third lesson Prabhupada mentions here about how even some those who are born in the Kshatriya and Brahmana families, because of lack of spiritual education, they will remain Shudra. So, whoever is born by birth, they all are Shudras, and everyone needs a spiritual education. But because there won't be any spiritual education, there is no Gurukul today, thanks to the Britishers. They broke the backbone of the society, which even the Islam could not do so, but destroying our educational system. Once the education system is destroyed, everything is destroyed. And therefore, any one of us and every one of us want to speak about, parents following Garbhadan Samskar, etc., etc. None of us should be proud of a situation. So this is a situation, unless we have a spiritual education, we cannot have good leaders, or in fact, even right leaders. Lesson number 4, Prabhupada mentions, in the situation of Kali Yuga would be such, the state would be declared secular. What is the meaning of declaring a state secular? Which means there is no religion, there is no practice of religion. And as a result, there will be a total indifference to the principles of religion. And what happens then? The citizen will become free to act as they like, without respect for Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Just like they said, the child marriage is archaic practice. Now look at the contrary, the statistics of teen pregnancy. What is better? We'll see Prabhupada in this purport says, if you want to remove corruption, one of the things to removing corruption in individual lives, at the state level, at the national level, Prabhupada writes in Purport ahead, we'll see it. One of the ways of removing corruption is not to allow free mixing. Even if they are girlfriend, boyfriends, even if they want to come together, unite together, they should get duly married. Only then it should be done. And see, because now we are not having this, we said child marriages is archaic, etc. There are several states in America who have passed a law where as young as 16, they can get married. I remember meeting a couple during my book distribution days back in America. I was myself in college doing MTech master's study. So there was this couple who had 1.5-year-old daughter, interestingly. And when I was talking to them, they looked pretty young to me. And I asked them, who is she? This is your brother's daughter? Whose daughter? So the couple said, this is our daughter. So I said, oh, you both are married? They said, yes. I said, you both look so young. They said, yes. I said, what do you mean by yes, yes to everything? What's your age? What are you doing? So they both said they have just taken an admission to undergrad college. They have just taken an admission in undergrad college. And then they said, in a particular state, I believe Minnesota, if I'm correct, there's a law, 15 or 16 years, you can get married. And so, because they have, I was making a point, joking with our devotees yesterday here, that how unfortunate we Indians are. We miss out on one thing with which the Westerners are blessed. Every Westerner today get to attend their parents' marriage, not unlike Indians. The Westerner can very proudly say, I was also present in my father's marriage. At least thank God we still have that culture remaining, that we don't say, oh, I missed out my father's marriage. At least we are not so secular today that we're complaining on it. So like that, the state will be declared secular and there will be no practice of religion. Lesson number 4. Let's move forward. Text number 3. Although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by a Shudra. There were tears in her eyes and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field. And here in the purport, lesson number 6, right? No, lesson number 5 actually. Lesson number 5. And the purport Prabhupada mentions here, the situation of the cow is described without the calf, and tears in her eyes. She was distressed and weak, and Prabhupada talks about the importance of cow protection. Prabhupada says the very first line: the next symptom of age of Kali is the distressed condition of the cow. Let's go to the end of the purport. Something very important Prabhupada writes. The whole purport is very important, but we'll just paying attention to something which is very, very important in this reading that we're having. Somebody please read out this particular highlighted portion. This is our lesson number 5 for today.
People do not know what they are doing in the name of economic development. The influence of Kali will keep them in the darkness of ignorance. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, they must try to see the cows and the bulls happy in all respects. Foolish people do not know how one earns happiness by making the cows and bulls happy, but it is a fact by the law of nature. Let us take it from the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and adopt the principles for the total happiness of humanity.
So this particular paragraph here, Prabhupada mentions about the importance of cow protection, why we should do it. It in fact brings peace and prosperity for the humans. And if you don't do it, then we'll always be miserable. And no doubt about it. Look at our condition. Our condition have only worsened. It's not by any means we have improved. Yes, our possessions have improved. The so-called comfort of life have increased. But what about the mental peace? What about the physical ailments? They have only increased. So that was lesson number 5. And then text number 4 mentions about Parikshit Maharaj inquiring from the bull, who is responsible? What happened? Maharaj Parikshit, well equipped with arrows and bows, seated on a gold embossed chariot, spoke to Shudra with a deep voice resounding like a thunder. Actually, yeah, right now here, Parikshit Maharaj spoke to the Kali personified first. And here comes lesson number 6. Very interesting point Prabhupada writes in the first few lines of the purport. Somebody please read out the highlighted portion.
As administrative head of king like Maharaj Parikshit, with full majestic authority, well equipped with weapons to chastise miscreants, can challenge the agents of the age of Kali. Then only
will it be possible
to counteract the degraded age. And in the absence of such strong executive heads, there is always disruption of tranquility. Disruption of tranquility.
So lesson
Sorry, I'm
number...
reading from my hand.
Oh, okay, no worries, no worries. So lesson number 6, full majority government is always preferred over coalition government. Right? If you're not going to have a full majority government, you're going to have a lot of problem because you cannot make strong decisions. All right? Text number 5. This is the interesting verse. We'll recite. Kastvam acharane loke baladhamsi abalan bali naradevasi veshena natvat karmana dvijaha. So here it is said, Parikshit Maharaj is telling to the Kali personified, Kastvam acharane loke, despite my presence, under my protection, Balad Dhamsi Abalan Bali. Balad, one who is powerful, is exploiting Abalan, one who is weaker. We read in the first canto already. What is that? Ahastani sahasthanam apadani chatuspadam falguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. This is the law of the material nature. Ahastani sahasthanam, the one who has hand exploits those who do not have hand. The weaker get exploited by the stronger. Naradevasi veshena, you Veshena, you're dressed like a Naradeva. Naradeva means Devta for the humans, which means the king. You're dressed like a king. Natvat karmana dvijaha. But your activities are not like that of king or that of a Shudra. Like that, Parikshit Maharaj says to our Kali personified. Lesson number 7 in the purport, Prabhupada writes, because it said here, Karamana Dvijaha, a man not twice born by culture. So there are two births that happen according to spiritual culture and Vedic scriptures. And it is mentioned here. Please somebody read out the highlighted portion. What are the two births? One is seminal birth and one is spiritual birth, which is through spiritual instruction from a guru.
The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are called twice born. Because of these higher classes of men, there is one birth by parental contribution and there is another birth of cultural rejuvenation by the spiritual initiation from the bona fide acharya or spiritual master. So, a Kshatriya is also twice born like a Brahmana, and his duty is to give protection to the helpless. The Kshatriya king is considered to be a man god or representative of God for giving protection to the helpless and chastising the miscreants.
So, lesson number 7 here, Prabhupada talks about two births is so important. Seminal birth is okay, that gives you again a very rare human birth opportunity, but more important than that is to get spiritual instruction. And if there is no spiritual instruction, there is no spiritual initiation, and the man remains animal. He cannot become actually a human being. Because the cultural rejuvenation, as Prabhupada used a beautiful vocabulary here, cultural rejuvenation only happens by spiritual initiation. Because today, Prabhupada says, today, however, people do not accept Vedic education, guru, etc., etc. So they are all worthless, lower class men without the cultural assets of the twice born. This is given in the purport only. And Prabhupada says, no one can expect justice or equality of treatment. Oh, Guranga, what happened? Somewhere I lost my. This is text number 5, right? Yeah. No one can accept justice or equality of treatment from once born spiritually uncultured lower class men. The modern human society is not twice born by spiritual culture. Therefore, the people's government by the people who are not twice born must be government of Kali, in which everyone is unhappy. What a beautiful line, Prabhupada, right? Huh? The leaders of modern human society are not twice born. Therefore, the people's government, administered by people who are not twice born, must be a government of not Congress, Kali, or let's say BSP, BJP. Is nothing but a government of Kali in which everyone is unhappy. In text number 6, what happens? You rogue, do you dare beat an innocent cow because Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the carrier of the Gandiva bow, are out of sight? Since you are beating the innocent in a secluded place, you are considered a culprit, therefore deserve to be killed. Lesson number 8. Godless society is equivalent to exploitation of every living entity. See, interestingly, Parishit Maharaj is saying, you rogue, do you dare to beat an innocent cow because Krishna and Arjuna are not present? Krishna is not present means a godless society. In a godless society, this is what happens, what Kali was doing, beating an innocent cow and bull. Godless society means exploitation of every living entity. And then after this, Parishit Maharaj, text number 7, began to speak to bull, to Dharma. Of course, Parishit doesn't know yet he is Dharma, begins to speak to the bull, asking, who is responsible for your situation? See, Parishit is a king, he has to make a decision, but he still wants victim to identify the culprit. Although Parishit Maharaj saw with his own eyes who was the culprit, yet he wanted to ask bull to acknowledge if this person is the culprit, and then Parishit Maharaj would have punished. With that intention, question is raised. Tvam va mranala dhavala pade nyuna padacharan vrasharupena kim kashit devo na parikhedan. Oh, who are you? Are you a bull as white as a white lotus, or are you a demigod? You lost 3 of your legs and moving on only one. Are you some demigod in the form of a bull who are causing us to grieve? Kaun hai aap? Who are you? So, lesson number 9. There are 3 levels of protection offered by or offered in Varnashram Dharma. First, protection offered by Vaishyas. They offer protection in terms of establish the principles of morality. The Vaishyas are, so of course, they do a little bit of, they are allowed to lie a little bit to do their business, but they are not supposed to cheat people. So, morality, they establish that. Then, Kshatriyas, they're supposed to establish the principles of religion. Religious protection is offered by Kshatriya. And Brahmanas, they offer spiritual protection. What is spiritual protection? Which means protection means knowledge, giving us the direction, how to live our life. So there are three levels of protection in Varnashram Dharma like this. And right now, Parishit Maharaj, we can analyze what kind of protection he's trying to offer. Cow is known as mother, and he has seen somebody trying to kill the cow and the bull. Then text number 8, where Parikshit Maharaj says, Na jatu kauravendranam do danda parirambite bhutale anupatantismin vinate praninam suchaha. Na jatu kauravendranam, in the kings of Kuru. In essence, Parishit says, until today, nobody in the kingdom of Kuru or Kuruvamsha have felt unprotected. Vinate praninam suchaha. And here comes the lesson number, I believe, 10, the duty of the government. And Prabhupada writes, the duty of the government is to protect the lives of both the human beings and animals. That is the foremost responsibility of the government. Man and animals were equally protected as far as life was concerned. This is the way in God's kingdom. Unfortunately, today, even in our holy dhams, there are slaughterhouses. This is the situation in Kali Yuga. But what is the way of God's kingdom? Where every life which is born in that kingdom is protected. This is your lesson number 10. And then in 9th verse, Parishit Maharaj consoles the cow and the bull by saying that do not be terrified. I'm here now. I'll promise you that I'll give you protection. Please tell who did this to you. O son of Surbi, you need not lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low caste Shudra. Very interesting if you see. Let's read this verse actually. Something beautiful is there. Ma saurabhe yatra sucho vyutu te varshalad bhayam ma rodir amba bhadram te khalanamayi shastari. He addresses cow as Amba. He said, Mother cow, you're my mother. Parishima said that. O son of Surbi, you need not lament. There's no need to fear this law. O mother cow, as long as I'm living as a ruler, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. And here comes lesson number 11, if I'm correct. And that is, again, mother cow. What does it mean to be mother cow? Prabhupada writes something very beautiful. How important it is to take care of our own mother. And yes, please read this concluding points from the purport. If we protect the cow, then Krishna is pleased. To that degree, cow protection is important. This is lesson number 11. Please somebody read out the highlighted portion.
Sometimes with education for the protection of the cow, but for want of pious educated and suitable laws, the cow and the bull are not given protection. The human society should recognize the importance of the cow and the bull and thus give all protection to these important animals, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. For protecting the cow in Brahmanical culture, the Lord, who is very kind to the cows and the Brahmanas, Go Brahmanya Hitaya, will be pleased with us and will bestow upon us real peace.
Krishna is very pleased when the cows and the Brahmanas are taken care. Namo Brahmanaya Devaya, Guru Brahmanaya Hitaya Cha, Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya, Namo Namaha. So question comes now. All of us are city dwellers. So all these city dwellers like us, how can we contribute to cow protection? In cities, in a very planned way, strategically, the Congress ruled governments largely over the several decades, they've made and passed laws that no householder is allowed to keep a cow. And one of the big states which it happened, of course not now, but some time ago, was Uttarakhand. And so many things are coming out. What had happened in Uttarakhand in the last 14 years of rule, not the recent rule, but the first 14 years of rule when Uttarakhand became separate from Uttar Pradesh. The government then decided to ban goshalas, and nobody was allowed to keep cows. Why? Later on, they discovered it was a big controversy because the daughter of the chief minister had a business relationship with Amul, the Amul industry. And Amul complained to the daughter of the chief minister that we are not able to get any market share here because everyone purchases milk from the Goshala directly. So the government became so heavy and they forced all this, Gwales, those who were running the Goshalas, out of the city. Now, if you don't have a Goshala nearby, how would you purchase milk? What about the delivery? And the villages don't have all that end-to-end system. And I remember while I grew up, I don't know how many of you remember, I remember I grew up, in our house there was a cow and a bull. We had a big bungalow. We were on the first floor, and on the ground floor, those who stayed, he had kept, that was not our cow and bull. This was a villager who has moved to city, and he had kept a cow and bull. I remember in those days, every lane, literally every other household would have a cow, and people will milk their own, will get their own milk. We didn't had it, our family didn't had it. So we remember when this particular family wasn't there, my father used to just go 3 homes away. In the house only they opened a Goshala kind of thing. They had several cows there. And I remember one day the law was passed that you're not allowed to keep the cows. You're only allowed to keep kutte. And the street dogs enter the homes, and the cows, which is said to be pet animal, went out of the house. How many of you actually remember while living in a city? Do you remember this thing? In city, not in town, in villages. In cities, seeing cows in the homes of your relatives and friends. At least I saw that. I remember those things. So that's the situation here. So how can we offer protection? How can we contribute when now in cities you're not allowed to keep cows? There are so many stringent rules for it. So one thing is, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj was making this point, I'm repeating it, is we can support cow products. Replace your toiletries and all your soap, hair, shampoo, etc., face cream, everything by the cow products. At least in India, there are many Goshalas have taken this initiative. ISKCON Goshalas have also taken initiative. If you go to our gift stall, I believe in most of the ISKCON will be there. At least in our Pune temple gift stall is there. You'll find cow products for all your home utilities, even for cleaning utensils, cleaning the floor, everything is there. So when we purchase cow products, that money in return goes to those who are preparing the cow products, and which allows them to take care of the cows. Because now the government does not give any support. So if they have sufficient money, they will not sell the cow, which is not able to give milk, to the slaughterhouse, because the person knows even the cow's dung and cow's urine has a commercial value, and it is very, very healthy for the body. All right, so that's how we can contribute in the cow protection while living in the city. Let's go into text number 10 and 11, where there's a discussion of the duty of the king. And it is said, "O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, good birth." The shloka says, "Kirti ayur bhaga gatihi." His destination, his bhagya, his life, and his yash, everything gets destroyed when people are terrified because of rogues. If there are increase in crime or criminal activities or sinful activities, then the king loses his good reputation, his destination, the next life, etc. It is certainly the duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living entities. So Prabhupada in this purport talks about the meaning of the word praja. Praja means one who takes birth. And then there is a next lesson, which is probably lesson number 13, is the God-made laws versus man-made laws. Many of you would have heard the argument, "Oh, you say do not eat animals. Just like animals have lives, plants also have life. So you're killing a plant. You're causing hurt to the plant by plucking the fruits. So you're destroying life. So if you can kill plant or cause harm to plants, then what is the harm of we doing it? We are doing the same crime." Like that, many people argue. But Prabhupada writes something very beautiful. Let's hear what Prabhupada says in the purport. And I am trying to locate where is this, and it is mentioned here. Somebody please read out What Prabhupada says. This is lesson number 13, man-made laws versus God-made laws. Highlighted portion.
By the law, supreme law, all living beings in whatever shape they may be are the sons of the Lord, and no one has any right to kill any other animal unless it is so ordered by the courts of natural law. The tiger can kill a lower animal for his sustenance, but a man cannot kill an animal for his sustenance. This is the law of God, who has created the law that a living being subsists by eating another living being. Thus, the vegetarians are also living by eating other living beings. Therefore, the law is that one should live only by eating specific living beings as ordained by the law of God.
So why we are vegetarians? Because that is the law of the material nature. Law of material nature means law of God. That is what it is. Okay. A second reason we give Patram Pushpam Phalam Tvayam, because we eat only what Krishna takes. Sorry, we eat only what we can offer to Krishna. So Krishna says, offer me Patram Pushpam Phalam Tvayam, like that. This is how. So this is, we are trying to be law-abiding citizen. That's a point here to argue for those who say plants also have life and you're hurting plants like that. And then text number 12, where Parishad Maharaj inquired from bull. Parishad Maharaj repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull, O son of Surbi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. Prior to this, I would like to also bring out attention to another important lesson that Prabhupada makes in the purport of the previous verse. Lesson number 14, beware of false propagandists. Prabhupada says, please somebody read out the highlighted portion, what Prabhupada writes in the purport.
The human
Human life is special. Please go ahead, Madan.
The human life is especially meant for knowing the signs of God, but foolish creatures, especially in this age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, makes propaganda against religious belief as well as the existence of God, even though they are always bound by the laws of God, by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease.
For so long, scientists are making a claim will make you ageless, will make you young, will save you from death, what not. Just like if you look at the space mission, in 1960s, space mission was about landing to moon. And around 1970, NASA had published an article where they wrote categorically, by 1990, we'll have societies on the planet moon. Nothing happened until 1997. NASA published another article saying that by 2012, we'll have people living on Mars. Nothing happened until 2017. And now they are saying, let us try to send people in the space and let's give them space odyssey or space tour. So, nothing ever happened. They keep giving false promises. Moon gaya, Mars gaya. Now they're talking about, let's send a man into the space, not the space, within the Earth's environment. And last year, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the Virgin Atlantic's, what is the name? Richard. These 3 people for the first time entered space, which means beyond the height the plane can fly. And if you would have seen the recordings of they flying into it, for months together they had to undergo training. And then they were so nicely packed with the space suit and everything just to go above a certain stratosphere or whatever we have, the layers of atmosphere. And when they came back, was such a big party. I was wondering what happened in 1967 when Neil Armstrong went to moon. Moon is even outer Earth atmosphere. And 60 years, 70 years later, they had such a big party. All 3 of them had such a big party and declaring to the world, we went to space. So, this is how they keep cheating people. So beware of false propagandists. That's the lesson number 14 for today. And we were talking about verse number 12. And here, very interesting thing it is mentioned, which is, in a godless society, no one can be happy. We've already discussed that point. Text number 13. Who did this to you? O bull, you're offenseless, thoroughly honest. Please tell me, who is the perpetrator of this situation, or this to you? And here comes lesson number 15, very interesting point. And the point is about the cultural differences in modern versus Vedic time. This is what the title I'm giving, and here is what Prabhupada writes. Now, here Parishad Maharaj says, please tell me who is a perpetrator of these mutilations, which blacken the reputation of the sons of Pratha. Your situation, if you are in suffering and misery, it spoils our reputation. And today, the administrators, I'm not going to take a name, all of you intelligent, they have opened slaughterhouse. One of the biggest slaughterhouse which I got to know later on was in Ghaziabad. I had never seen it, although I had spent good amount of years there. My father told me was of one of the Supreme Court judge or advocate who is in very high position and one of the oldest party of this country, who ran the biggest slaughterhouse. His major source of income is from the slaughterhouses, and not one, many slaughterhouses. And here you have a person, here you have a king who is saying, because you are distressed, our reputation is at stake. And rascals today, the administrators, they are opening slaughterhouses. So the cultural differences in the modern versus Vedic time, that's lesson number 15. And please read out the highlighted portion here. Please go ahead, somebody, what Prabhupada writes.
The bull and the cow are the symbols of the most honest living, because even the soul and urine of these animals are the benefit of the descendants of the sons of Pratha were afraid of losing their reputation. But in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing this off. Herein lies the difference between the reign of those five states and the modern states ruled by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the course of God.
So now please understand why I'm calling about cultural difference in modern versus Vedic times. Imagine now if you read books or commentaries by such demonic people describing the Vedic times. Now, if these administrators who have themselves opened slaughterhouses, these fools who say if you don't kill animals, their population will increase and they will attack humans. What cow will attack human? Cow does not even have a teeth. Have you ever put your hand in the mouth of a cow? You put your hand in the mouth of a cow, you'll get a massage, nothing else. She can only give you a mild massage because she does not have a teeth. Of course, she has a teeth, but only the lower jaw. She doesn't have an upper jaw. She cannot chew any hard thing. How can the population increase of the cow would kill the humans or destroy humans? So these kind of foolish claims they give. So imagine if you have to read books by people who are born and brought up in today's culture. Can they ever represent and present Vedic culture properly? So most of the knowledge that we know about our culture is from either the disciples of Max Muller. Of course, they don't call themselves the disciples, but you understand what I mean. The students of Max Muller, who came from a cow-killing society himself, and now after coming to India, they wanted to give a commentary on what was Vedic civilization. So therefore, we have to be very careful from whom we are trying to understand about Vedic culture or the Vedic times or the history of this great country, Bharatvarsha. We cannot know the history from our modern day lens. We need to understand the setup then and then make a commentary. So let's go to text number 14, where Parishad Maharaj gave a full assurance to the bull, don't worry, I will protect you. By curbing dishonest miscreants, Prabhupada writes in the translation, one automatically benefits the offenser, which means it is very important to punish the miscreants. You cannot go from lower court to city court to high court to Supreme Court to such an extent where victim commits suicide and the miscreants continue to live. Saying that on the human grounds, human rights. How can a culprit have a human rights when the culprit destroyed the life of another being? Today they talk about the human rights of terrorists. The terrorists should be given a chance. When he destroyed a family of somebody, he killed the father, somebody killed the husband of somebody, killed the daughter of the mother of somebody. How can he talk about human rights? And here comes the lesson number 16. As I said, a lot of important lessons for leaders, administrative heads. Please read out the selected portion from the puppet. Dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent executive heads of state. But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. This lesson number 16 is about having a strong leadership and punishing the miscreants compulsorily. For example, in my time when I was in America, 2000, around 7, 8, around that time, there used to be gunshots. There used to be gunfiring, let's say, once in a semester. And that too in remote places here and there. Gradually, it became to a monthly event. Now it became to weekly event, and now every day there is a gunfire. So much so, even it is not much reported in the news. Your schools are not safe. Your colleges are not safe. Your shopping malls are not safe. The hospitals are not safe. Only safe place right now in America is the prison house. There is not even a single case of shootout in the prison house. Everywhere else there is a case of shootout. For decades together, this is going on, and yet the government of the most powerful country, with the most powerful army, with the most advanced weaponry, is not able to control gun firing in his own country. Why? Because gun laws. So one leader said, we should equip all the schools, we should equip all the teachers with AK-47. If all the teachers would have the gun, nobody would dare to bring the gun to the school and shoot. So all the headmasters, headmistresses, all everywhere, every shop owner should sit with a gun. So anyone comes, you shoot them. So he's saying, increase the sales of the guns. Why? Because all dominated by those who manufacture weapons. Now this is one kind of a governance where people are being killed left and right. And now the same country, if there 1 or 2 people die outside, they're willing to bomb the whole nation. Again, this is nothing but to increase the sales of weapons. Now we have Bulldozer Baba in India. All of you would have heard there is a new Baba these days, Bulldozer Baba. He resides in Uttar Pradesh. No name taking. But once there was a riot recently, he decided punish the miscreants. First thing he decided, I would fine them, and he printed the posters of all of them and posted all over Lucknow. And he ordered the administration to take over all the fine for whatever loss they brought. And then the Supreme Court came into the picture and they said, no, you cannot do it, human right violation, human right violation. So they said, you're not supposed to do it. Then our Bulldozer Baba decided something else. He said, before even the court comes, let me raise their homes by the bulldozer. And for all the miscreants, he punished them like that. Now in this state of Uttar Pradesh, those of you are from Uttar Pradesh, you know there was nothing Uttar about it. There was nothing Uttam about that state. If anything good has become about this state, it has been in recent times. It was highly violent, chaotic, rogues and thieves all over the place. Now there are riots happening everywhere else. Earlier riots would happen only one place, Uttar Pradesh. Now riots are happening everywhere else. Uttar Pradesh, everyone is sitting peacefully. Why everyone is sitting peacefully? Why miscreants are sitting peacefully? Let me give you a short story. Once there was a man who had a pet animal. Generally, people would have a cow, would have a dog, different a parrot as a pet animal. But this man had a monkey as a pet animal. And he had to go to another village, so he had to go by a boat. He got into the boat, and along with that, there were a few other men were sitting. Monkeys are restless, and the monkey was jumping all over the boat. The boat was shaking. The Navak, the boatman, was saying, "Oh, please, masters, tie up this monkey because of this. Otherwise, if the boat topples, all of us would die." And the master said, "What can I do?" Master means the owner said, "What can I do? The monkey is not listening to me." Everyone tried, but the monkey will jump here, there, and the whole boat was shaking. Finally, there was one intelligent man was sitting there, and he said, "Well, if you allow me, I can make this monkey sit silently." The boatman, the owner, everyone said, yes, please do whatever it does because our life has to be saved. This man caught hold of the monkey, gave him a tight slap and threw him into the river. When the monkey fell into the river, he began to flap his hands. Now, monkey doesn't know how to swim. Monkey is struggling hard, and finally when the monkey was about to drown, this intelligent man caught hold of the monkey by the hand, pulled him back on the boat and kept him in the boat. This monkey looked here and there, lifted his tail, went in the corner of the boat and sat silently for the whole journey. He did not create any nuisance anymore. So, miscreant, monkey was a miscreant. When he got the experience of his own taste, which he was giving to others, he understood what it means when you destroy the property of others. He understood what it means when you kill others. Experience is the mother of all teaching. Or mother, it teaches you all. When he got that, he said that. Therefore, punishment is so essential, should be done. And today, people, I don't know what has happened wrong with our administration, like that. Today, people are fighting to protect the rights of the one who has even raped, other living entities. I mean, rapist. I mean to say, there are people fighting for the rights of the rapist. He should also have. So this is what the situation in society. So that's the lesson number 16 from text number 14. I just realized it is 3 minutes to be 9 o'clock. So I hope all of you are not super bored with this discussion. Do I have a democratic nation, a democratic vote to continue on? Or if you think, Prabhuji, this is enough, we can continue next week. So what do you all say? So in our setup, we only take votes of those who have their camera on. All other votes are rejected, okay? So those who have their cameras on can give a vote by raising a hand, saying yes. And those who need to go, they can just quit the window. What can I say? Right. So I'll continue with the discussion. Okay. So where were we? 14th verse we discussed. Text number 15th translation. Any upstart living being who commits offenses by touching those offenses shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he is a denizen of heaven with armor and decoration. Parishit Maharaj is saying big things. Even if you're living, if you are a devta, then also I'll punish. So does it mean Parishit Maharaj is boosting? We'll talk about it later on. But lesson number 17, Prabhupada, again, I have discussed that point, so I'll not say that here, but we'll make another point. But Prabhupada writes here that the state head should be as strong as Parishit Maharaj, who is not afraid of the culprits. You should not be afraid of the rogues. If you're afraid of the rogues, then how can you protect the lives of the citizens? And then in verse number 16, Prabhupada mentioned, this is our lesson number 17, the duty of a king is to protect the citizens, and second duty of a king that Prabhupada mentioned in text number 16 is to enforce Varnasham Dharma. And Prabhupada mentioned this at the end of the puppet. Somebody please read out the highlighted portion. This is text number 16, end of the puppet. The duty of a king, lesson number 17. Please read out.
The state executive head is to see that such some dharma is not changed by the follower, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the follower of children. The violator is subject to punishment in terms of the shastra, and the duty of the king is to see everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scripture.
So this is a duty of the king. This is the roles and responsibility of a king to ensure Brahmana lives according to Brahmanical principles, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they lived according to the principles and not violate each other dharma. And if you don't have that, then there is utter chaos. And then text number 17, where dharma begins to speak. So question arises, is Parishit Maharaj boasting? Is he really such a strong king that he can even punish the devatas if they commit a crime? So here, very beautiful thing Dharma says. Etadva pandaveyanam yuktam ata bhayam vachaha yesham guna gane krishno dvatyadyo bhagavan kritaha. Dharma says, these words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty. Captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandava, even Lord Krishna, the personality Godhead, performed duties as a messenger. And here comes a very, very important lesson. And that is lesson number 18. Is Parishit Maharaj boasting? If Parishit Maharaj was boasting, then Dharmaraj would not have expressed his gratitude. And he's saying what you have spoken befits a person of a Pandava dynasty. And Prabhupada writes something very, very beautiful here. I'll read out a certain portion and then I'll give it to you to read. He was not falsely proud, for a devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by his grace. Any promise made by the devotee, though it may be ordinary, very difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of the Lord. Killing of Jayadratha by Arjuna. It was impossible by all means, but by the grace of Krishna, it got fulfilled. And then, so which means, here is what I want to draw your attention in the purport. Yeah, this is the thing. how devotees' assurance never goes to vain. Assurance of devotee means assurance of Krishna. This is lesson number 18. Very important point. Please read out the highlighted portion.
The devotee is always under the protection of the Lord, and therefore the assurance of protection by Maharaj Parikshit could never be without meaning. The personality of religion accepted this fact, that thus thanked the king for his being true to his exalted position.
I mean, it's fantastic. If you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, failure after failure, one day in the evening in America, in New York City, he's sitting at a bench on Tompkins Square Park, all by himself, not knowing what to do. Should I book my ticket and go back? Doesn't know how to pay rent, doesn't know what I'm going to eat. There is nothing with him. And he's sitting on the bench in the Tompkins Square Park, and Mr. Ruman, bus conductor, after finishing his duty, comes there for a stroll in the park, and then he sees a saintly man sitting. He walks up to the saintly man and he asked him, "Who are you?" It's so amazing. Prabhupada introduced himself as the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There was no International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and Mr. Ruman was confused. He's a founder Acharya, which means he's a CEO of some institution which he didn't understood. The CEO sitting in a park of an international organization, all alone. This is so amazing. He's like, this is not believable. But he looks so saintly that he could not have lied. So he asked him, "What is this institution about? What do you do?" etc., etc. And Prabhupada said, "I have hundreds and thousands of disciples all over the world. I have written hundreds of books, and we have hundreds of temples all over the world." Prabhupada had nothing. Prabhupada was still working on second canto at that point of time. He didn't know for how long. He already had several attacks. But Prabhupada's assurance is Krishna's assurance. Krishna made it possible, which was impossible. Impossible. And Prabhupada himself writes in this purport. Similarly, Prabhupada gives an assurance if somebody chants 16 hours of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, diligently, and follows 4 regulative principles and renders service to the Lord and devotees, I will take him back to the Godhead regardless of his level of purity. And similarly, Prabhupada says, however, I also cannot protect the one who does not chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. So pick your choice. If in case you're not still on the boundary of 16 hours, start soon. This is Prabhupada's assurance. If you do it, Prabhupada will personally take him back. Text number 18. Navayam klesha bijani yatasyu purushashavah. Dharma says, the Buddha says, very difficult to explain who is the cause, who is the perpetrator of my suffering. Parishit Maha says, Purusham tam vijanimo, parantu you know everything, you're Dharma personified. Vakya Veda Bhimohita, but Dharma says, no, I cannot, because there are so many people making so many philosophies about what is the cause of suffering. I don't know. And here begins a very important discussion on what is the cause of suffering. We'll not go into the discussion of what is the cause of suffering because we have discussed elsewhere several times. We'll talk about only one point. How does a Vaishnava react to an unpalatable situation, maybe a suffering, distress, whatnot? That is lesson number 19. And the answer is given here. Very, very important. We can read out the whole paragraph actually. Somebody please read out this whole paragraph of verse number 18. How a Vaishnava reacts to sufferings.
Continue.
All of the Guru on the personality of the earth knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was direct cause of their suffering. Still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Puran, our present trouble is due to the rectifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away the execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not cause them for the suffering, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some declared cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God-given in small doses. For otherwise, the sufferings should have been great.
There is one philosophy called as Karmavad, where the actions are responsible. And other philosophy, Daivavad, where the higher powers are responsible. Whatever happens, because somebody else is responsible for it. However, here it is mentioned, or the scriptures describe, what is the understanding of Vaishnava? Nothing in this world moves without the sanction of the Lord. Of course, it does not mean everything that is happening in my life is because the Lord wants it to be that way. No, it is mix of karmavad and devavad. That is what the decision of the Lord, whatever is happening to us right now, whatever situation we are in, is because of two things: because of past activities and the will of the Lord. Unless the will of the Lord, the sanction of the Lord is there, we cannot get the reactions. Knowing that the will of the Lord is there, knowing that Lord is involved into it, knowing that it is the hand of God. This is our subject matter of last Sunday Parishit Maharaj session that we did as part of Light of Bhagavata. Seeing the hand of God, knowing that the devotee does not blame others. One very important thing of a person to be a devotee, to call oneself to be a devotee, they're not fault finders. They don't find faults with others. Of course, this could be very lofty idea here where there is a perpetrator who's hitting you, yet you're not able to call him because he's not the perpetrator. He's just an instrument of my own karma. Theoretically, it may sound okay, understandable, but practical life may be very difficult. But at least we should come to in terms understanding and seeing the hand of God in anything and everything that happens in my life. Even if we can just understand hand of God, that yes, this is the will of the Lord and there is something wonderful planned ahead for me, then we'll continue with our life. Whoever we are, tolerance is essential. We cannot not tolerate. Inconvenience is going to be part of life. Classic example is Pandavas. In coming Sunday, we'll discuss more about the subject matter of tolerance from the life of Pandavas and how essential it is. So that's the point mentioned here. Text number 19. The book says, some says we are responsible, some says they were responsible, some says I responsible, some say the nature is responsible. There are different philosophy mentioned about it. But let me ask a simple question to all of you. Let me give you a very simple example here and see if it makes sense or not. My question is, who feeds the child? There is a maid who cooks the food. There is another maid who serves the food. There is a servant who brings the grocery from the market. And there are parents. And there is an individual where he lifts the food in his own hand and that puts in his mouth. So according to you, who feeds the child? The maid who cooked, the maid who served the food, the child who lifted his hand and lifted the food and put it in his mouth, the servant who brought the grocery. There was no grocery. What is the question of cooking food? Or the parents who organized it all, who arranged for the servant to buy grocery, who arranged the maid to cook, who arranged the maid to bring the food, and the child empowered. The strength to the child also comes from the parents, where the child can lift and eat food. So who is responsible? Who feeds the child? The one who is ignorant will say, the maid who cooks. Somebody may say, oh, who is a little more smarter? The servant. If you don't have vegetables, how will you cook? Actual answer is parents. So who is our ultimate mother and father? Krishna. Without them, we cannot even get karmic reactions. Because this whole world is controlled by the Supreme Lord. Everything in this world is organized by the Supreme Lord, just like a father and mother organizes everything in the house for the well-being of the child. Similarly, in this material world, everything is organized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is the vision of a devotee. He understands the hand of a God. Like this is mentioned, text number 19, text number 20, where Dharma says, okay, Baba, this is what all I had to say. You judge now. You're the best of the kings. You decide why this is happening like that. And here we come to very, very beautiful purport. It's a big purport, so it'll take a time. But the conclusion is, that is the lesson number 20 here. And Prabhupada writes a conclusion here in the purport. And Prabhupada says this. Yeah. And this is what we're going to read. So what is understanding? Who is the cause of my suffering? There are three things. First is, that is lesson number 20, the conclusion on who is the cause of my suffering. First thing, everything happens by Lord's will. Second, which means the hand of God, I am not independent. And third, His desire for me is the best. But imagine, Krishna wanted Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra to give 5 villages. Now you know the result of the war. So what do you think? Krishna's decision or Krishna's desire for Kauravas was in their favor? Yes or no? Although the Kauravas are not thinking that, Duryodhana did not find it palatable at all. But if you see, Krishna's wish was in the favor of Kauravas, but they were not willing to listen to Krishna or Bhishma Pitama or Vidura, all their well-wishers, and they thought that good advices is a poison to us. So his desire is best for me. This is the perspective of a devotee. Please read out the highlighted portion. Somebody please go ahead.
The conclusion is therefore that the suffering of representative of religion and the representative of earth, as present before Maharaj Parikshit.
Okay, no, not from it, not from here. Read from this. Everyone being under the control. This is the point. Last 4 lines.
Everyone being under the full control of the Lord is quite correct in his action when he desires something to be done by someone, irrespective of the consideration of the particular case. Maharaj Parikshit was thus put to a test for his greatness. Now let us see he solved it by his sage's mind.
So how did Parikshit Maharaj resolve this conflict? Who's to be blamed? Text number 22. Rajavacha. Parikshit Maharaj says, Dharma ambravashi dharma gya dharma si vrasharupadrak yada dharma kritasanam suchak kasyapi tadvavet. You are no ordinary bull. You are the best of the dharma. You are speaking the best of the dharma. There is hardly anyone who would not identify the culprit. Forget about finding faults. Fault finding we all do. We all do complaining. Here, this bull is not doing fault finding, not even fault finding. Forget about fault finding, is not even identifying the culprit. Therefore, Prashant says, oh, you are not an ordinary bull. And here comes lesson number 21. And the lesson number 21 is, never blame the instrument of your karma. In other words, do not find faults. One who finds faults acquires the same destination as to whom you are finding faults with. Prabhupada gives an example. Jesus Christ was also put into great difficulty. So in other words, Prabhupada writes in the end, where it is, please read the last portion of this purport. In other words, the devotee has no suffering. Screen is visible? Yes. Okay. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never place any complaint before the king, although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude the bull was certainly the personality of religion. So that's the point here. This is the fine intricacies of religion. This is how the devotees act. And then text number 23, it says that Lord's energies are inconceivable. Text number 24, he says, Dharma stands on 4 legs, which is tapah, saucham, daya, satyam. So what are the lesson number 22? What are the symptoms of irreligion is described in text number 24. There are 4 legs of religion, which is the lesson number 23. 4 legs of religion is dharma, mercy, austerity, cleanliness, and truthfulness. And what are the 4 symptoms of irreligion? Prabhupada mentions in the purport here, in the translation, and also in the purport actually. And Prabhupada says lust for woman, intoxication, gambling, meat eating. These are all the symptoms of irreligion, like that. And something very interesting Prabhupada mentions about pride. We must always remember. This is a very beautiful point. Somebody please read out. This is from text number 24. Last paragraph.
Always remember that false pride or too high estimation of one's own value of life, undue attachment to woman or association with them, and intoxication of any kind will divert human civilization from the path of peace. However, much of the people clamor for peace in the world.
Please read ahead. The preaching of the Bhagavatam.
The teaching of Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men austere, clean both inside and outside, merciful to the suffering, and truthful in daily behavior. This is the way of correcting the flaws of human society, which are very prominently exhibited at the present moment.
And next verse, what are the principles of dharma? We've already discussed about austerity, cleanliness, truthful mercy. Prabhupada writes in the purport, austerity, fasting. Prabhupada gives an example. Here is about austerity. One way of the austerity. Austerity means some, accepting voluntarily which may not be comfortable for the body, but which is conducive for spiritual growth. And then Prabhupada speaks about cleanliness. Cleanliness means internal cleanliness, external cleanliness. So there's an external pollution and there's an internal pollution. So we clean our body by taking bath, and we clean our mind and consciousness by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Like that, Prabhupada mentions. And Prabhupada says, very beautiful point this is. We have to see things by the resultant action. The resultant action of human civilization in the age of Kali is dissatisfaction. So everyone is anxious to get peace of mind. Like that, Prabhupada gives an answer here. So 4 principles of Dharma, lesson number 23. Text number 26. I'm just keeping it very short, not going into details of it. These are some chapters for long discussions. But text number 26, it is said the burden of earth was diminished as long as Krishna was present, like this, and all auspiciousness arises there. Text number 27, how do we get rid of inner pollution? That is lesson number 24. Prabhupada says, in the purport Prabhupada writes, how do we get rid of this inner pollution? In the future of the world, in the age of Kali, when irreligiosity prevails most prominently, in the absence of suitable king to curb irreligious tendencies, educating the people systematically in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, and blackmail. So reading of Srimad Bhagavatam purifies the consciousness, and that's the way. Krishne Sudhama Upagate Dharma Jnanadibhi Saha. 3rd chapter, I believe, mentions this. When Krishna disappeared, or Krishna departed, Dharma Jnana also went. So, of whom did Dharma took shelter? And that's upon a time Srimad Bhagavatam arose or took birth, like that. And now comes text number 28. So now question arises, this is the time of Kali Yuga. Why should Parishit Maharaj endeavor to stop the dawn of Kali Yuga? Isn't it? So it is mentioned 28 verse, Maharaj Parishit, who would fight 1,000 enemies, he took up his sword to kill the personality Kali, who is the cause of all irreligion. Here's my question to all of you. And the question is, if that's the case, how many of times we also think, if this is what's supposed to happen, why should I? Why should I fight? If my surrounding is like this, what can I do? If everyone is waking up late, so why should I wake up early? If nobody is practicing Dharma, then why should I practice Dharma? So Prabhupada makes a point, devotees are not lazy. Lesson number 25. And Prabhupada makes his point in the purport also. And Prabhupada says, this is no argument to say because it is supposed to happen, so I should not protect myself. Prabhupada said, we always do that. Prabhupada gives a beautiful example of a rain. In a rainy season, a monsoon season, you know that it's going to rain today. But when you go out, you carry umbrella with you to protect yourself from rain, isn't it? So similarly, even if it is the time of Kali Yuga, every devotee strives hard to reduce the influence of Kali Yuga and increase the influence of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is how Srila Prabhupada mentions the devotees are not lazy, they work very, very hard. Lesson number 25. And then 29 onwards it is mentioned, the Kali surrendered. So why Parikshit Maharaj did not kill Kali? Because Kali surrendered as a code of conduct of a Kshatriya. As somebody surrendered, then Kshatriya gives protection. Then text number 31 onwards, the king began to speak. He said, okay, I will not kill you, but you cannot remain in my kingdom. So the Kali said, oh, what will I do? I am also the part of your kingdom. I am also born here. Please protect me. Give me some shelter like this. So in text number 32, it is mentioned the duty of a king is he cannot allow any mischief or any irreligious principles to flourish. And there comes the lesson number 26. And lesson number 26 is modern day irony. Even if government makes a decision, a strong decision, which is in favor of everyone. For example, back in 2014 and 15, the government had passed an order to ban all pornography sites. There was so much ruckus on the streets in the country saying that, oh, you're taking all of our pleasure, etc., etc. How would we live our life? And again, the government was forced to bring back. So therefore, Prabhupada said, democracy is democracy. But you cannot make strong decisions, which was advantage in monarchy like that. And then text number 33, when Parikshit said, you cannot stay here. This is the place of sacrifices. In other words, wherever Krishna is worshipped, wherever there is Harinam Sankirtan Yajna being practiced or performed, Kali is not, or Kali cannot survive there. Text number 33, that's another lesson for all of you. I don't know what lesson number is going on. You keep a track of it if you're able to keep it. And then 34 talks about the best sacrifice is the sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord Shri Krishna. That is Harinam Sankirtan Yajna. So seeing this, Sutta Goswami in text number 35 says, Kali began to tremble out of fear, and then he spoke. And he spoke to our Parikshit Maharaj. In text number 36 and 37, it is mentioned, Kali begged. He said, I am also resident of your kingdom. Please, please, give me some shelter. Give me some place where I can live. And seeing that Kali has taken shelter, Parikshit Maharaj became compassionate. Text number 38. And there, Sutta Goswami says, Parikshit Maharaj assigned 4 places to Kali. And what are the 4 places? Very important. These are the 4 addresses of Kali. Kindly note it down. So to make sure never enter these residential places of Kali, okay? These are the addresses given in Srimad Bhagavatam of Kali. So please read and please show the shloka on the screen. Sutavacha abhyatitastada tasmai sthanani kalaye dado Vyutam panam striya shuna yatra dharma chaturvidha. There are 4 residences of our Kali personified, Mr. Kali. He is found wherever there is alcohol served. Dyutam is gambling, gambling homes, houses. Panam, not water panam. The panam means alcohol. Wherever alcohol is served, striya doesn't refer to ladies. Striha refers in this case of prostitution homes, illicit relationships. Shuna means animal slaughter, or wherever the meat is cooked or served, which means from today onwards, no going out. Because you go out to theater, you go out to restaurant, you go out anywhere, this is what happens is, yes or no? You find all these 4 things only. Dyutam, Panam, Striya, Shuna. Such is the contaminated state of the human civilization today. These are the 4 places, residences of Kali, which are described here. And then Prabhupada mentions, this comes the highlight of this whole chapter. What are the practical ways, lesson number 28, what are the practical ways to stop the corruption which has started because of the influence of Kali? And Prabhupada gives his verdict here in 3 points. Prabhupada even made it point-wise. So please somebody read out these 3 points. How we can get rid of corruption.
Point number 1. 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more.
So fasting, which is austerity, should be performed, then the benefits of that is given. Second,
there must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls attaining 24 years of age and 16 years of age respectively.
so no live-in relationship, no illicit relationship. If all will stopped, then cleanliness principle would get established. Text number 3. Lesson number 3.
The citizens of state must give in charity.
Now this is something interesting. So everyone nods their head for the first 2 points very enthusiastically. Yes, fasting should be there. We do it also. There should be marriage, no illicit affairs. But text number 3, it even shakes up our devotees also. Please read carefully what Prabhupada writes here.
The citizens of the state must give in charity at least 50% of their income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in the human society, both individually and collectively. The principles of Bhagavatam should be preached, namely the Karma Yoga, or doing everything for the satisfaction of Lord. Second, regular hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam from the authorized person or realized soul. C. Chanting of glories of Lord congregationally at home or at places of worship. D. Rendering all kinds of services to Bhagavatas engaged in preaching Srimad Bhagavatam. E. Residing in a place where atmosphere is saturated with a God consciousness. If the state is regulated by our process, naturally there will be a God consciousness everywhere.
There will be a God consciousness everywhere. So like that, the importance of charity, importance of fasting, importance of good conduct with the opposite sex is being discussed here. But Kali said, oh no, what can I do? You don't have any such place in your kingdom. Please give me some other place. And then text number 39, it is mentioned that Parikshit, being kind to him, gave him a place wherever money is hoarded or gold is hoarded. And Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport. Please read out in your time. where he gives some interesting comments on the state of global economy. And why? Because of the state of global economy, there is so much crime, so much suffering, and so much irreligion. And text number 40, when he is given a place to reside where there is a gold, which means there is storage of money, where we are hoarding money, we are not utilizing the money properly, or just collecting it. Just like Prabhupada already mentioned, charity should always be given, but people do not do charity but hoard money. That's where Kali resides. Text number 40, Kali stayed back. According to the instruction of Parishit Maharaj, he got those one of the fifth place like that. And then text number 41 is a warning given. Athaitani na seveta bubushu purusha kavchit visheshato dharmashilo raja lokapate guruhu. Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, sannyasis, should never come in contact with the four above-mentioned irreligious principles. When Pandavas were in Vanvas, when they went to the forest, Lord Shri Krishna came to meet. Draupadi went running to Krishna. Why? I was insulted. And Krishna said, because Yudhishthira played gambling. And Yudhishthira came and chastised. Krishna chastised Yudhishthira. What happened to you? Why did you play gambling? And then Krishna said, even a Dharmraj like you comes in contact with any of those things which breaks the regulatory principle, even they can get contaminated, influenced, and make the biggest blunder. And one of the biggest blunder was to put on stake when you are already a slave. Yudhishthira was lost first. He could not have put stake anything else, but Shukuni was able to fool him, because Karna said in the end, "Arey, inka ek aur reh gaya hai, inki patni bhi reh gayi hai." So Shukuni said yes, and Shukuni said, "Okay, you have one more property." And everyone was thinking, what property? Now Yudhishthira is a slave. If you are a slave, nothing belongs to you. And that was Draupadi's argument. If king has already lost himself, how can he put me at stake? Which means the wife becomes a slave of a husband then. But a wife is not a slave of a husband in Vedic tradition, is an equal partner. So Draupadi argued against it. Anyways, that's Mahabharata. Moving forward, and here comes lesson number 30, I believe the last lesson for today, or lesson number 29, whatever the lesson number. Many people ask, how do I know who should be my mentor? What should be the qualities of leader? Who should be a guru? Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, what is a prerequisite for a leader? And here it is in the purport. Please somebody read out the highlighted portion.
Before one can be accepted as a spiritual or a material master of a society, he must be tested by the above-mentioned criteria of character. Such public leader may be less qualified in academic qualification, but it is necessary primarily that they be free from the contamination of four disqualifications, namely gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter.
Hare Krishna. So like that, it is mentioned, at least they should be following these four pillars. Text number 42, very, very important. Please read out in leisure time, where importance of charity is mentioned. Here in the purport, Prabhupada mentions, I'm skipping the translation, but it is said that how the condition of the world was improved, etc. But Prabhupada mentions in the purport, second paragraph, very important point. It's an urgency for a human society to contribute, to make a charity. If they keep on hoarding money, they don't understand that Kali resides in their own home, and there will be only destruction. Like that, Prabhupada mentions the importance of charity. And then 43, 44 talks about the glories of corruption-free state of Parishit Maharaj, or the glories of Parishit Maharaj rule. And then text number 25, the final text for the day today. Etham bhutanubhavo yam abhimanyu suto napaha yasya palayatha shaunim yuyam satraya dikshitaha. Maharaj Parishit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been possible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this. Sutta Goswami is speaking to the sages of Navashranya that under the patronage of Parishit Maharaj, under the rule of Parishit Maharaj, or under the rule of the followers of Parishit Maharaj, you are able to perform your dharma. And Prabhupada concludes the last lesson for today. There is a need for cooperation between Brahmanas and Kshatriya. Prabhupada writes at the end of the purport, you'll find it here. In other words, Without state support, no doctrines of philosophy or religious principle can progressively advance. And Prabhupada gives an example of Maharaja Ashoka. And then Prabhupada also gives an example of, Buddha. He gives an example of Buddha. His philosophy went far and wide because Maharaja Ashoka accepted it. So, to conclude on what can we do? Now, we are not in administration, but we want to practice Dharma. We want to involve as many as people to practice Dharma. So, we only have one thing in our hands, the vote. That's the only power, which everyone should utilize it. To whom to vote or not, that's a different subject matter. But if you are able to select a right leader, then it will facilitate the practice of Dharma and it becomes easy. Some of us who have lived in Bengal or know about the situation of Bengal under the communist regime will understand what it was to practice Krishna consciousness in those years, in those decades back in Bengal, and when situation have changed a little bit now. So like that, as I said, this is a very important chapter where practical tips for administration, personal application, importance of cow protection, the symptoms of Kali, and the essentials of Dharma, etc., are discussed. The more we will read this chapter, the more we'll find the things for our application. The first thing I would say for our application is to find the places of, residence of Kali in our own house. And how and when and what situation Kali personified is staying in our house. If there is a quarrelsome situation, if there is a constant anxiety staying in our mind, which means it's because of the presence of Kali. We are in too close contact with Kali. Otherwise, it's just not possible. Therefore, Prabhupada said, a God consciousness environment, there is no anxiety. And when there is no God consciousness, there is only anxiety. With that, we conclude here for today. I'm sorry I went a little extra, 3 minutes more. Of course, I went 33 minutes extra. 9 o'clock we were supposed to end, but generally we have half an hour question answers. But all of you are studying so well, I thought you may not have any question answers, so we'll continue our discussion. So, but I wanted to give justice to this chapter and focus on some lessons like that. So, all right, thank you all for your kind attention. There are 2 more chapters to go, chapter number 18. Now, what happens is Parikshit Maharaj himself gets influenced. He himself gets influenced by Kali because he was wearing a gold throne. And he said, wherever there is gold, you can sit. And Kali sits on the head of Parikshit. This is what the verdict of many. And that's how Parikshit Maharaj in his life committed only one mistake, that he became upset at the sage. The same Parikshit, he became so thirsty while wandering in the forest that he became so upset with the sage, he put a dead snake on the neck of the sage. And the same Parikshit sat for 7 days, heard Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami without napping, without water break, and without a loo break. There was no break. It was 7-day original Bhagavat Katha. So how is it possible? It is only possible, of course, it was the will of the Lord. And very interesting discussion comes ahead. We'll see in the 18th and the 19th chapter. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining us again for this discussion. Shikapu, any concluding comments or anything if anyone has written? Okay.
There was one question at the starting of the discussion, but I think it was clear in subsequent how to understand about the bull standing on one leg.
All right. So please read the chapter. You will have complete understanding about why the bull was standing on one leg. Okay. So we have given you a good enough overview, helped you with the purpose also. It'll be easy for you to read now. Hare Krishna. So all right, Shikha Prabhu, we conclude here. Thank you all for joining in. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki